Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Let's Process That podcast. I am your host, Emily Christopher. This is my incredible co-host,
Nick Honorkamp.
Yay! We are so glad that you guys have joined us again for another episode. We are going to be talking about something that is near and dear to our hearts because it's very important for us, but also a reoccurring theme with people that we've talked with, been encountering, that kind of thing. So I'm going to toss it to you, Nick. You can launch us off, and then we'll just see what happens, because that's what we do. We just see what happens.
Well, first of all, Emily, I have to ask you an important question.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Am I washed out wearing this gray on gray behind me and stuff?
So first of all, people will never know because Adrian color corrects all of our videos, which again, okay, let me say this. We're very close to having almost 5,000 listeners. So shout out to everybody listening. Oh my gosh, this is so cool.
Thank you.
But YouTube's not our biggest platform. Like, hello to the people watching right now. I'm waving to you. I love you. I thank you. But this really is more of a podcast forum. So even if one of us looked off one day, it's okay. Because most of you are listening to us and you don't see us. But Adrian color corrects. He makes sure that it's vibrant, warm tones. So no matter what you wear, Nick, you're going to look fabulous.
Well, I just noticed you pop. There's like no color behind you, but then, you're wearing color everywhere. And it's like, yeah. All right. So that little sidebar, that's some stuff I didn't know. That was some new figures. I appreciate the new data. And also I didn't know all the hard work Adrian does. Somebody should pay him.
Someone should. We'll circle back to that.
All right, we'll talk about that off air. All right, so the subject that we're going to talk about today is around personal energy. How do you manage your personal energy? Have you noticed a change in the way you have to manage your energy from season to season? I have, big time. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I have all the answers at all on this, but I've got a lot of questions for the first time in my life since 2020. That 2020 was the first time that I noticed my energy was gone and I had to make some adjustments. I've learned a couple of things, not enough, still learning some new stuff. Obviously, the conversation with Ashley about resiliency was excellent a couple of weeks ago and really got me to thinking. You mentioned a thing or two off air that you do personally, and I thought, why don't we go there? Why don't we just talk to people about some ideas that we have around managing and focusing on our energy? Since we decided to do this, I started thinking, you're an extrovert and I'm an extrovert. Mm-hmm. Even though we like some alone time, when we're around people, the right people, our energy goes up. However, when we're around a lot of the wrong people, our energy goes down. I wonder if introverts have to manage their energy more closely than extroverts. Do you have a thought on that?
Oh, gosh.
I'm curious.
Yes, absolutely. I've had several conversations because I make a joke that I just continually adopt introverts. I just collect them and bring them in. So with the conversations I've had with most of the closest people in my life are introverts. And yes, absolutely. It is a lot more work to manage that because they just have a lower capacity. So what works for me where I just need an hour or two, they need a day or two. And so I would say, and don't let me speak for all the introverts of the world, but from my personal interest in asking, it is a lot longer of a recharge that is needed.
Way to get the comments flowing there, Emily.
Hey.
Blanket statements about our introverts.
I'm so sorry. I don't mean to misrepresent.
Usually, the difference between an extrovert and introvert is not can they turn it on. I was with a guy today who is a pretty big personality, but he's a flaming introvert. It's just when he knows when it's time to turn it on, he knows how to do it. He's authentic with it. And then he needs some time away. He needs several days down. And usually an introvert needs time alone to recharge. Extroverts can recharge in a group as long as it's the right people. I remember one time I was at a conference with a bunch of pastors, and there was an old retired pastor and said, how many of you guys are just tired? And everybody raised their hand. And he says, I want to propose you start spending more time with people. And the room just groaned. And he says, aha, you're spending time with the wrong people.
Yeah.
If you get around the right person that's inspiring, that is challenging, that is interesting. My energy goes up. I love interacting with people like that. But I know that there's a lot of folks that they just need to back up and pull back, and that's totally fine. So, which one of us wants to go first, talking about our energy and how we measure it and how we manage it?
Ooh, you go first because I have a
Okay.
long list.
Well, I don't. Okay, I'll get something started. I
Okay.
don't care if you take the rest of the show. I really
Oh,
don't.
no, no,
But
no.
I have more things. But I find this interesting. I think you are more in tune with yourself than I am.
Mm.
So one of the things that I've always been told is that I'm not very in tune with my own body, with my own self. I put music on when I run because I don't want to feel the pain. I don't want to think about the pain. I don't want to adjust to my body. I just, and I'm a man, I'm a type A guy. And so we just get it done and don't worry about those things. In January of 2020, we had three guys come in to evaluate our church and evaluate my leadership. And they said, Nick, you're burnt out. I said, I am. And they said, you're totally burned out. And recently I've learned that if you can get a couple of good days in a row of rest and you feel better, that was exhaustion. If you don't feel better, that's burnout. That's a whole different thing. It's a lifestyle change. You need ongoing care. So they told me I had to take a sabbatical in May and June of 2020. And then in March, COVID hit. And you remember COVID and all the things we had to do, all the
Mm-hmm.
extra things. You and I didn't go learn a new hobby. We didn't know. We were working 4 times as hard as we ever worked before.
Yeah.
I was already burnt out. The world was uncertain. There was, crisis everywhere, all kinds of dissension. That's when I realized I was in trouble. I had never hit the ground before. I'd never hit zero before,
Mm-hmm.
but then I did. And I would literally have to go to Lake Junaluska to get out in the sunshine. Something about vitamin D, the sunshine, gave me a little boost of energy. And I realized that I didn't have my class at the gym anymore where I was working out with, 5 to 12 people every single day. And that, as an extrovert, I loved working out with them. I hate working out by myself. I hate trying to push myself by myself. I loved hanging out with people that didn't think like I think, they don't talk like I talk. And I realized that group exercise at the gym added energy. When I left the gym, I had more energy than I went to the gym. And if I could get out in the sunshine, that helped me as well. And I've got an appointment this Friday with someone who deals with renewal. And I'm starting a program where I'm going to learn about my own renewal, my own refreshing, and see what that's going to look like. I'll have more information later. But,
That's awesome.
yeah, but that was 3 years ago. And it's the first time in my life that I've ever paid attention to my energy and said, I have to manage this now. And since then, since 2020, there's never been a time period where I don't think about my energy and I don't have to manage it. So for 50 years, nothing. And then suddenly in the last 3 years, every day I have to think about my energy. So
Mm.
tell me something that you might do or how you pay attention or when you know you're dipping or you're doing great.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, first of all, if you're watching on YouTube, this is my magic little tool. This is my planner. This is what keeps me organized. This is where I make list on list on list. And for me, that is how we stay ahead of our energy. I try to sit down at the beginning of the week. What do I need to get done? And then I strategically disperse it to where I'm always going to meet the deadline. I'm always going to meet the deadline. That's not a problem. We're going to get it done. But how can I accomplish it to where I'm not burnt out and I'm not killing myself throughout the week? I am a firm believer in distributing perfectly how things are going to get done. So if you aren't managing yourself well, you're going to burn out. And if you can't take responsibility for that, you will end up paying the cost. So if you need to get a planner, if you need to use some kind of tool or software, I know there's plenty of things out there about management, but especially management of yourself. And everything that goes in here is like work, but also personal stuff. So get a planner if you need to. Start managing yourself. Treat yourself like an employee. Like, hey, what are my goals? What are my incentives? What am I getting done so that I do it well? So that's one of the biggest things for me is making sure that I disperse and I don't kill myself on a Thursday trying to get everything done. Oh, what you got?
I could leave the podcast right now and have benefited. I literally have my notebook sitting right here. I
Good.
just planned out my whole week, and I have 20 items I need to get done. I put 10 on Monday and 10 on Tuesday. I packed as much as I could in the first 2 days of the week, and I didn't put anything on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I didn't disperse anything.
No, 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 no. Oh my gosh, that brings me anxiety. But it also, I mean, I always try to get the big nasty things out of the way first. So I write a lot. I do a lot of copywriting. So if I have to write a big scary press release about, and I have to do a lot of research for it or something like that to get the information I need, then I'm going to do that first. And then like
Yeah.
social media stuff for me, and for those of you who don't know, I'm a director of marketing and I oversee social media and all digital stuff. Um, so I always take the big, scary, nasty thing and I tackle that at the beginning of the week if I can, and then disperse the rest of the stuff. So, yeah, I would say manage your energy and manage your task list to where, yeah, like you said,
Great advice.
by Tuesday, Wednesday, you're not like, I'm absolutely killed. I cannot fit another thing in here.
Oh,
So
jeez.
try that. Um, and you mentioned like getting outside and moving. One of my goals, for those of you who don't know, I used to work out twice a day for 45 minutes each time, and did that for a very, very long time. And that's just not feasible in the season I'm in, or necessary, I don't think. So I want to move my body 45 minutes every day in some capacity, whether that's a yoga session, walking, lifting, whatever, because I will feel better. It's not even really about, I mean, yes, I want to move for my physical sake, but I'm like you, Nick, it helps my mental health. Like I am less irritable. I just feel more clear headed if I can just move my body. So being able to do that is really, really, really important to me. Do you want me to keep going?
Oh, yeah, you're good.
I got the things. All right. Another thing that I really think is important is my environment in my home. So I love candles and incense and fresh flowers. Those are like three things that I have to have. And not all the time necessarily, but at least one of those things where I want my home to feel cozy and inviting and like a sanctuary. So making sure that it's clean, and it didn't have to be perfectly meticulously clean, but just like organized where I can have clear thoughts. Because when I walk into my home, aka my sanctuary, I want to be able to take a deep breath. So if that means me doing a little organizing every evening before bed, then I'll do that. I'll prioritize like, okay, for 15 minutes, I'm going to tidy what I can so it doesn't feel like clutter and chaos, because that will take away from my energy. But also just like a big fan of a fresh flower. One, you can get them hella cheap. Like you can literally spend $5 and for the rest of the week you have just a nice fresh flower. And I don't know what it is, and I understand, Nick, if you can't relate to this, I don't know how many men are passionate about fresh flowers, but it really does wonders for the space, plants, all kinds of stuff like that. Bring more oxygen into your space, and it's just better for your overall health to have fresh plants, flowers, whatever. So those are very, very important to me. And I got more,
That's
but
very good.
I'm gonna give a few, you give a few, and we'll just keep this
Okay,
back
all
and
right.
forth.
I'll take two things real quick. Number
Yeah.
one is I don't care a whole lot about clean or environment. I do care about organized. If I can
Mm,
walk into my office and everything's organized, it lifts my spirits a little bit. If
mhm.
I walk in and I've been busy and for 3 days I haven't put anything away, it drains me. It just I have to pick stuff up. I have to move stuff to figure out where things are, and it's just it's the opposite of efficiency, and I hate it. I want when I get in my car, I get everything back out of my car. There's nothing that stays in my car. Everything is empty and clean, and I just like it that way. The other thing I've noticed for me is my favorite mode of operation is languidly productive. I like to languidly move from one project to another. not feel like any deadlines, nipping at my heels. I got 7 things to get done. Bam, bam, bam. I got 4 things left. My energy goes up. I feel like I can see the end of the tunnel. I'd much rather have a day where I have 7 things I need to do than 12. And I'd much rather have a day where I had 7 things than 2. I struggle with empty space. And so for me, if I can just be languidly productive, get a thing done over here, get a thing done over there, stop for a second, check the sports news, get up and do another thing, that's when at the end of that day, my energy has held and maybe even gotten a little bit higher. If I do not have a productive day, and for God's sake, I turn the page and Monday's to-do list was not done, and I still have Tuesdays, it exhausts me to even think. So I think I have to see progress to keep myself motivated.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely something a lot of people need, is to say like, okay, I accomplished something. I have a friend, she loves to write everything down just so she can scratch it off. There's just
Yep,
like this
that works for me.
yeah, sense of fulfillment with, I marked through it, I got it done. So that makes perfect sense. Um Another couple of things that are really important to me, and I feel like have helped me with my energy, is um, intentional time outdoors. Because I am someone who will pop headphones in and like hit a trail, but really, there's been a lot of times recently where I've not put any headphones in, and I've been really slow and walking. We have a lot of beautiful nature trails and hikes around here, so just like leisurely looking around, taking in all the sounds, be like, oh, look at that little bird. Different things like that, to where I'm really present and not just trying to get it done or doing it for a task list kind of thing. Where it's like, okay, I went on a walk, great. But this was a walk where I was just pausing. I was taking in the beauty of what's around me. I wasn't rushing through it. I didn't have anywhere else to be. I think that's really important, just because we are conditioned for like the next quick thing, like gratify, what's the next thing that I can get to and I can accomplish, and what's, just all the chaos. We are kind of addicted to that. And so for me to be very intentional with, okay, I'm going to slow down and just enjoy this time outdoors, has been really beneficial and re-energizing, because when I leave, I just feel at peace. So that's been really good. Um, One other thing I'd like to say before I hear from you from some more things. I love a nap. I love a nap. I am a nap queen. And if you know me, especially my friends from college who listen to this, they're going to laugh, because I took a nap every day. It did not matter. I was going to nap. It could have been 6 p.m. and we had to be at dinner at 7. I'm going to nap from 6 to 6:50. I am going to take a nap. For me, naps are re-energizing. They give me just the boost I need, especially if I have like an evening event between work. I'm going to need at least a 30-minute lie down. I think a lot of that comes with me not having a thyroid. I think that has a lot to do with it, but I need a nap. I love a nap. I appreciate a nap. I'm going to always petition for the nap. Now, Nick, are you a napper? I don't even know.
I am not a napper. I probably take 2 naps a year, and that was out of probably jet lag from flying or something.
Oh
But
my God.
it's fascinating because just last week I was with a mutual friend of ours who is in his 80s, and he gets up every morning at 0 dark 30. He
Yes.
goes up on the mountain and does manual labor all day. But he comes home around 3:30 and gets that nap in. He gets a little nap in, and then he's ready for the rest of the night. And I wish I could nap better. But here on the flip side, I'm a good sleeper.
Mm.
So I used to like pride myself on getting 6 hours of sleep and getting up early and getting the work done. Now in this season, I'm like, hey, I wonder if I could get 9 hours of sleep tonight. I wonder if I could get 9 hours. And like for me to sleep in would be like 7 o'clock. Every once in a while I'll hit 8 o'clock, but usually, I'm a 6 o'clock in the morning kind of guy. And so, but in this season I've been sleeping good. And so I am a big fan. If you don't win the night, you don't win the day.
Yeah.
I mean that. That's actually a spiritual principle I have, but I believe it in the natural. People who struggle to sleep, it's one of the biggest health detriments they have because then they don't have the energy for anything during the day. And it's legit, man. I wish more people could get good sleep. So anyway, you got naps, I got sleep. I enjoy that. Um,
Can I
I
say
want
one thing
to,
about sleep?
yeah, yeah.
So I have naps and sleep. Yeah, again, if it comes to a sleep of any time, if it's in the middle of the day or at night. So let me tell you some crazy things with
Okay.
sleep that I've been doing that maybe this will help some other people. So I'm like you. I believe in getting at least 7.5, 8 hours. Love a 9 hour night. Wow, incredible. So I had been doing a lot of research about what makes your sleep just better, really getting like that good deep sleep. So I take magnesium every night. I take a magnesium complex, and I also spray magnesium oil on the bottoms of my feet. And I sleep like a baby. Another thing I'm doing, and you're probably going to think I'm so crazy. And if you're listening, research this yourself. I tape my mouth closed to sleep. So I know it sounds so crazy and hippie, and there's plenty of comments about me taping my mouth shut, I'm sure. Save your jokes. Save your jokes. But when we sleep with our mouths open, and I know some people, like I have a friend, she's like, I would suffocate if I did that. Like I snore, I sleep with my mouth open. But there's plenty of science, seriously, look it up, about if we can breathe through our nose, especially when we sleep, you will sleep much deeper. So I'm encouraging everyone, look up taping your mouth when you sleep. There's a ton of health benefits. You're going to sleep deeper, better. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. I won't go into all the science because it's not what this podcast is about, but sleeping with your mouth taped.
Okay. Of all the possible things we could talk about on this podcast, two that I did not see coming is spraying magnesium on the bottom of your feet and taping your mouth shut to go to sleep. There's lots of us that would have wanted to tape your mouth shut, but the thought of you doing it on your own willfully to get sleep, that's fascinating. Do you listen to white noise or have a fan on, or does that help you at all?
In college I had to have white noise. I slept with a sound machine on every night, but that was also because I lived with 5 other girls and everybody was
Yeah.
up at different times, all that stuff. Now as long as it is dark, I'm fine. I can do a fan, I can do that, but I don't need it. But I do
Okay.
like dark. I like pitch black dark. Oh my gosh, I hate any light.
Yeah, we have a fan every night. That helps. That just keeps the little noises and stuff like that. Love the
Yeah.
dark. That's good. So I don't know that I have any more things. I might think of something in a minute. One thing that recharges my battery is when I can find a good hour to just sit and read a spy book. Just
Mhm.
pick up a spy book and some kind of intrigue book or something. I love reading. I love not, you know me. I like reading lots of books. I like self help books and leadership books and stuff like that. But it's good to pick up a book that's just for entertainment. You're just sitting there and you're reading. And but I'll tell you one thing. I'm really shocked by, Emily. You have not brought up music yet.
Oh, it's on the list.
Okay, I was like, oh
On the
my gosh, because
list.
okay, I don't listen to music for I don't listen to music on a regular basis.
Mhm.
The other night, you'll be proud of me. The other night, I pulled up YouTube and I just watched a couple videos. And this new guy, Oliver Anthony, I watched his video and his new country guy that's just
Oh,
taken
yeah, yeah,
YouTube
yeah.
by storm.
He's from
And I was like,
Virginia.
yeah, yeah. And he
Yeah.
wrote the song like Richmond, north of Richmond, or something
Yes,
like that.
yes, yes.
So I was able to text my son, and he hadn't heard of him yet, and he's in the industry, and I was like, okay, I'm on the ground floor or something. But I never listened to music like, hey, I'm going to pump on some music and just let it be therapeutic and let it just, speak to me. And I know you're a big, musical person. So tell me what music does for you and give me a
Yeah.
tip, just like you did with dispersing your to-do
Yeah.
list. Give me something that I might try this week with music.
Oh man, well there's a ton. So music plays such a big role in my life. One thing that I try to set aside at least one 30 to 45-minute session is me just playing piano and singing through like anything I want to at the top of my lungs. I'm so obnoxious. I'm sure my neighbors hate me. But yeah, so I try to just have fun with music because I go to rehearsal every week. I do all that where it's, work
Work.
essentially. But try to have fun with music. Now, that's me creating and singing, but just music that I get to enjoy. So I'm going to shout out my friend Jaleel. What up, Jaleel? This is what he does, and I've been stealing this from him. I haven't even told him I do this. Jaleel gets up every morning and he stretches and he dances for like 10 to 20 minutes. He just puts on his favorite music and in his room, he just dances and he like listens to his body and he's like, all right, what's a little sore today? I'm going to like go ahead and stretch that out. And I'm also just going to move my body. And he gets up really early. So he's doing this at like 4:35 a.m. I don't know, like super early. But I think one thing that we've lost as a culture globally, and maybe not so much in different areas of the world, but we used to all come from dancing cultures.
Right.
And dance was so important. Dance was vital to our communication. It was vital to our communal expression. And so I feel like people don't move their bodies enough. So one thing that I really want to start doing is that I usually do like a little body check-in in the morning. I'll do a quick little stretch, but I would love to start the day off with just like 10 minutes of like a song that makes me feel good, that gives me energy, that I thoroughly enjoy. But all the music that I listen to throughout the week, through my commutes, has everything to do with my mood. Like, and it was interesting. I think Logan Green, well, shout out Logan again. Logan asked me an interesting question. He said, do you listen to music to put you in a certain mood or energy, or do you accommodate your music to fit what you're already in? And I was like, that's really interesting. I said, probably a little of both, because if I'm feeling down, I'll most likely want to get pulled out. But then sometimes if I'm down, I want to listen to some like dramatic, sad music and just kind of sit in it for a while. But I think that's interesting too. And it blows my mind. I mean, of course, we're wired so differently that you don't listen to more music. But again, everybody's so different. So with music, it has a lot to do with my energy. And if you're around me, you will know what kind of day I'm having based off of what I'm listening to.
What's interesting to me, did you say you listen to music on your commute?
Yes. Or NPR. I love NPR. I'm an NPR girl.
In the last week, I've turned on NPR. And there's not a lot of radio stations around here. I turned on NPR just to have some noise in the car. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I'm on the phone 95% of the time when I'm driving. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'm working. I'm using that space. I like to listen to podcasts more and pick up some ideas, learn some things about life. And I'd like to listen to music more. And I was curious about your answer to Logan's question because I wouldn't pick sad music to try to get me into a happy mood, but I don't even know what genre of music I really get into. I got stuck somewhere in the 70s and 80s. And so I need to reinvent that piece of me.
Well, hey, I've got a list. If you like kind of what you've been exploring, I'll send you a whole playlist of stuff.
I need it.
Yeah. But music is definitely, it's multidimensional. There's multi-purposes, but definitely navigating my energy and mood has a lot to do with the music that I put on. But yeah, I'm proud of you. Look at you. Look at you being a part of a trend, Nick. I'm
trying.
This is wild.
Hey, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Let's get to people for a second.
Okay.
When you're down, when you're struggling, when you're not feeling that great, who's your go-to peeps? Who's your go-to peeps that you would pick up the phone and say, hey, let's have coffee or call or something? And what is it that you get from those peeps? I'm trying to make sure I've got me Team Nick. I want to have Team Nick that when I need to talk to somebody, tell me the peeps you lean into.
Yeah, so I look at it as like a circle that has like 3 layers.
Yeah, love that.
So I've different friendships and people have different purposes. One thing that speaking of like re-energizing, one thing I've been really intentional with some of my friendships is being more vulnerable and honest and like communicating when I'm struggling. And so, even a couple of weeks ago, I was having a really terrible body dysmorphia week. Like it was so bad. I was like, I need to call because I'd been talking to a therapist specifically for body dysmorphia at one point, but haven't had a session in a while. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to like book something because I'm out of control. And I ended up texting two of my best friends slash colleagues. And I was like, hey guys, just for a minute, like, I don't need anyone to affirm me and tell me I'm beautiful and I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. I just need to tell you how I feel. And it may sound crazy, it may be whatever, but I just need to let this out. So I typed up this whole thing, how I've been feeling, and I sent it to them. And of course, they were so loving, so kind. And as soon as I sent that and just got it out, I immediately felt re-energized, felt more clear-headed, felt like I could look in the mirror and see myself as I truly am. But it was amazing what the vulnerability piece did to give me more energy and to get me refocused. And so those are two people that I do life with almost every single day. I spend 7.5 hours a day with them most of the week. And so they know me, they see me, and it was just very freeing for me to share that with them. And then I have my I have different friends for different things. So some friends like, if I'm feeling sad or down, I'll call them up. I had a friend just 2 nights ago. She came over just for like an hour and we just sat, talked, laughed. She went home and I was like, oh, I just feel so good. Like that was awesome. I feel so much better. Just like 1 hour of being with somebody who loves me and I love them, and we don't have to put on a face. We don't have to pretend to be anybody. We can just exist. And that was really refreshing and energizing. But you definitely need to know and understand, and this takes, I think, like a certain level of self-awareness, because you will get your feelings hurt if you don't know what certain people give to you and what you give to certain people, because you'll try to make somebody who's maybe not the warm, fuzzy friend be a warm, fuzzy friend, and that's just not their personality type. So I feel like, especially with my relationships here, I've been living here almost 2 years now, which is bananas. But I have people who just fill and fit into different roles that I need for myself, because community is super important to me. And those people all have their place, and it's beautiful and it's great. And I don't want them to be more than they are, and they're not asking more of me. And so it's just really healthy. I feel like I'm in a really healthy season with relationships right now. And so, know what that person gives, and don't try to make them feel something that they aren't. Because I have a friend, we are great. We hang out all the time. She's not a warm fuzzy. She ain't going to give you a hug and tell you it's okay. She's like, well, that's tough. That sucked. All right. Can we get a martini? And I'm like, yes, girl. So that's just that. And that's okay. And I appreciate, because she fulfills something else in my bucket. Totally. So know your people and know who's going to give you what, and adjust accordingly.
What's fascinating about that is, if there are guys listening right now, they don't get that. I mean, very few guys would understand. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm feeling down today. I should call some brothers and I should tell them that I'm not feeling really good today. That men are not taught that. They're not trained that. Mm-hmm. But, and so for any ladies listening out there, please don't send your guy to, hey, you should need to tell Bob and Fred about you not feeling good. Or you're a little depressed today. No, they'll make fun of him. They will make jokes. They'll call their friends. They'll do some kind of prank. We just don't do that. But I think you're onto something with that text to those two friends, because I think journaling is something that can really help when we're feeling bad, for a guy to not tell someone else, but to start writing and putting it out on paper. The thing about writing is, when you write a word, you have to commit to it. And lots of times when I write a word, I cross it off because that's not the right word for how I really feel. So I'm working through my emotions and how to articulate them on a piece of paper. And usually I don't even know where it's going to go. I just got to start. But when I'm finished, I feel like I've unloaded something. I put something out there. You send it to friends that can respond, give you affirmation. But guys are not probably going to do that. So dudes out there, if you're sitting there and you're struggling, One of the things that you can do is get a therapist. That's good. And then you have one person you can talk to, and they're paid to listen to you. And then the other one thing is to journal and maybe just get some of your thoughts out there. And it could be that you figure some things out that you're working through that you could articulate to someone that in that way you could get some help. But I love those ideas totally. How many people are in your life today, that you have to be around? Family, coworkers, you have to be around them that drain you. That it's all you can do to really try to just get through the next assignment and get out before you lose the plug in the bottom of your pan.
Well, I will answer that, but let me say one thing because I want to respond to
Okay.
what you said. My
Okay.
hope and dream is that the culture of how men interact with each other would gravely
Sure.
shift. And I want to shout out the guys who are brave enough to go to their friends and be vulnerable. I know that is scary. Tyler Trantham, I think,
I
is a
love Tyler.
great. If you've
Yes.
not listened to Tyler's episode, go back. He was on the podcast. Tyler does a beautiful job of communicating emotions and still staying in this masculine energy and not
Very masculine.
wavering in like, yeah, I'm a dude, but I'm not scared to be vulnerable. And I think that's just like the
Yeah.
coolest thing. And that's the most like masculine macho thing is for a man to be honest and real with himself and his feelings. So shout out Tyler. Shout out the men who do have these conversations and have supportive circles. My hope is that as a society, we will continue to embrace and encourage men to do so. All right, sorry.
Good job.
Back to your question. I got a petition.
No, I agree with you.
So, it is very low. I'll be honest. Like, at work, I mean, I work for. I have like there's like 50 people, give or take, in our organization. Um, I love I love everybody, but there are more difficult people. Can I be honest for a minute?
Yes.
And I just learned again, if you have not studied emotional intelligence or read a book on emotional intelligence or really taken the time to cultivate emotional intelligence, prioritize it immediately. So you can interact with difficult people and know how to navigate yourself and others. Because you will always have to interact with difficult people. There are people who are just going to suck and drain the life right out of you. And guess what? We need to learn how to manage that and deal with it. We wish there was a magic button, they would all just go away. That's not how life works. Um, but when it comes to friendships, uh, and family, super, super, super low. Super low. That I'm just not going to spend time. I know that sounds terrible. In a friendship arena with somebody I don't get along with or I don't like. Thankfully, Adrian and I have great friend groups, and these people are all like married or about to get married this year. And everybody gets along, and it's good. And so I don't have to manage that part where I'm like, oh gosh, so and so's coming to the cookout. But now family stuff too. I live far away from family now. So that's not really an issue, honestly. I mean, yeah, it is
So
what it
it's
is.
interesting because you're talking about the couple friends you guys have,
Mm-hmm.
and you've been in a relationship, I'm sure, where you liked one part of the couple, but you did not like the other part of the couple, right? And
Yes.
it's always awkward because it's like, you're talking to the one and then the other walks up and then, okay, it's time for us to go, blah, 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 something. So think about the church world for a second when you were a pastor. How many people did you have to deal with to suck the life out of you?
Quite a bit. I'll be honest. Like, because we're almost, uh, well, that's a kind of a strong word, but I'll use it. We're almost dehumanized, and made to be like, you have to take this on. You have to address this, or you have to be part of this. And I do understand like part of being in that leadership role is like there are certain things that we have to take on. I get that. But there's also a part where it's like, hey, I'm a human being too. with like feelings and emotions and family and like time and energy. And some people just would abuse that, like flat
Yeah.
out abuse it. Did not care if it was 11 o'clock at night. They're going to call you. They're going to ask you to do things that are like way in a, like out of your bounds. You're like, yo, that's not something I do. That's not what I'm not going to participate in that. Um, so yeah, so a lot more. What about you, Nick?
Listen, I don't live near family, and there's very few people in my world right now that drain me. Of course, I had a job a couple months ago where I had people around me that could drain me, and I had people that liked me, and it fell on both sides. You can't pick who your coworkers are. You can
Mm-hmm.
pick how much time you spend with coworkers, which tells
Yeah.
you a lot about whether you like me or don't. Um, but I've been at church the last 3 Sundays, and 3 different churches. None of them are mine, and yet all 3 of them there was at least one person that came up, and I could just feel my energy just draining. And they're not cognizant of what's going on around them. They're not cognizant of how many other people are wanting to shake hands, or what I'm doing. It's just, I want your time. I want your attention. I need to tell you this. And I didn't even realize how exhausting the pastorate in the church world can be. And again, in a church where we're supposed to be there for each other, we want to be there for each other. But
Mm-hmm.
there's just people that don't have friends.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear what I said? They don't have friends. So
Mm-hmm.
at church, you're supposed to be friendly with them. And so they don't have friends. So they'll take even people who'll just be friendly, and then they'll just unload their wagon. They'll get whatever need they need met. And I just guess I didn't realize it until I got out of that on a day to day basis. And now it's like Sunday's a day where I've got to put up my guard, and I've got to say, hey, how do we go do this job and preach this sermon and leave? And, or send them to their pastor. But I was curious what you'd say about people on that end, because I think personally that I tolerated way too much
Mm-hmm.
negative behavior, and it drained me and sucked the life out of me. And I should have put down boundaries a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so hard to navigate because again, in those and not even in the church world, but in leadership roles, period,
Yeah,
people
leadership
just
roles.
expect like that they have access to you, and they will honestly strip away like your human side just so they can get a solution. And they will cut through that and like overlook like, hey, this person has a family, they have things like they might be doing something Saturday with their friends, or they may, be taking time to rest, and they just steamroll into that and kind of take that from you. Um and that's not fair. So,
Nope.
yeah. So I'm gonna bulldoze through a few of my other
Okay,
things, if
go
you
ahead.
don't mind, and then we'll wrap her up. Um, One thing that was at the top of my list is healthy and nourishing foods. I love food. Food does give us energy, but like learning what is like good, healthy foods. So I just made downstairs, it's simmering. I made a beautiful vegetable soup, fresh vegetables, spices galore. I went down there and tried it before we caught on, and I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to sit down with this just nutritious. It's going to make me feel good. It's going to keep me healthy, but it's also like savory and delicious. So, learning to eat well and still be healthy and know like I'm going to eat and it's going to be good for me, but it's still going to be bomb is very important. Meditation, we kind of mentioned meditation. Gratitude list. Um, Reading, we already talked about it. Time away from technology. Put your
Yes.
phone down. Put it down. Get away. We're overstimulated. Just do it. And I work in social media and marketing and all that stuff. So I feel like my phone's always there. I'm always having to be on the computer, but like get away from it when you can. Um, Trying something new is always important. Like, hey, is there something I can do just to get out of my comfort zone? Maybe this is a new hobby, a new fascination, a new interest. Um, Making sure that routine is down. I have a nighttime routine that is unbreakable, baby, and I think that's why I sleep so well. But like I do all my skincare. I do I read my little book. I burn my little candle. We're ready to sleep. And then one other thing
Take
that
that
was
mouth.
tape my mouth shut. And then another thing was, if you can, travel. And that doesn't mean internationally dropping all this money, but like, what's going on in the town next to you that you can zip over? 20, 30-minute car ride, discover something new, try something new. You don't have to spend a bunch of money. Hayden and Hayes, I feel like we're always dropping Hayden and Hayes on here. But one thing I've loved is on social media, they've been going to all these different coffee shops all over their area. And it's just been the coolest thing. And again, not low cost and a little adventure. So, traveling.
I love that. One last thing for me.
Yes.
Since 2020, I measure my energy every day. Obviously, it's, objective, but like 2 days ago, I was at 5.5%. 5.5 on a scale of 10. Last Friday, I was at a 1. And when I get to a 1, I have to say, I have to gain 1 unit of energy today. So whatever I have to do that. I was with a woman today that's a friend of ours that's going through a health treatment. And when she gets to office, they always say, how many spoons do you have today? And 50 is her perfect number. If she can get everything done today, she needs to get done. If she doesn't need a break, if she doesn't need to rest, but she can get done what she needs to, it's 50. And she said, today I'm a 40 spoon girl, that kind of thing. I do mine on 1 to 10. Mm-hmm. And I'm just curious, do you measure your energy at this stage of your life? I never did until I turned 50.
Yes. I mean, I don't have like a metric like that, but I'm very in tune and I communicate it immediately. Like anyone around me, like I'm like, hello, I am tired. Like when I got back from Montreal last week, I got back in at 3 a.m. and I was at work at 8:15. And I was like, hey guys, I'm exhausted. I'm running off of espresso. You've got 5 hours and then I'm going to hit the hay. Like I'm going to totally bottom out. So that's where I am. So I think also measuring, if you need to have like some kind of metric, but also communicate with the people that you need to communicate with.
Great idea.
Communicate. It's okay to not be at a 10 every day. But let people know. So if they step on a toe and you lose it, they're not caught off guard. Maybe they need to tread a little light. But yeah, communicate to the people that, especially your partners, your coworkers, the people that you're going to be interacting with. Go ahead and let them know. Just go ahead and let them know. Save everybody a bite. Oh man, love it. Nick, this has been great.
Loved it.
Thank you for your insight. I appreciate it. And
thank you for your insight and your awareness. I want to be more aware.
Well, it's painful, but it's necessary. And thank you guys for tuning in. We would love to hear, how do you re-energize? How do you recharge? What are things you do to stay ahead of your energy? Is there routines? Is there little things that you do throughout the day to check in? Do you have your own metric scale? How do you do that? We want to hear from you. Friends, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, you follow. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We are anywhere that you can listen to a podcast, including seeing our bright, shiny faces on YouTube. And we're both very expressive, and my Botox is good, so make sure you tune in on YouTube. But yeah, we hope that you follow along. I want to thank our producer, Adrian Wos, this incredible music by Caleb Honerkamp, and all of our marketing photography done by Before the Foundation's Photography, aka Allison Frost. We will see you guys next time. Have a fabulous week. Bye-bye.
See y'all later.